At the moment, I'm going to call this activity the Keep Alive game, but this is a working title, and it's open to interpretation. So if you have any good ideas, let me know. This is a group activity, and students should form groups of about 6 to 12 people. Once they form up, they should make a circle. I think 6 is the minimum number of students that you should use. Anything less than 6, and there usually tends to be a weak link who gets picked on in the game, and it doesn't really make it fair for everybody else. On the other hand, I think the maximum number of students should be 12. Anything more than this, and you're losing out on the repetition that makes this game so effective. This activity is all about speed and preparation, so you should encourage students to move quickly through this activity so that they have an ample opportunity to participate, to absorb new vocabulary, and to get a chance to speak up. Here are the X's and O's of this activity. How you play this game. Every group should have a leader. This should be the most responsible student in the group. It doesn't necessarily have to be the student with the best English ability, but they should be somebody who can use their force of personality to control the activity. Now once you pick this leader, you give them a starting prompt. And in this example, we'll use the letter A. So the leader will pick a word that starts with the letter A, like apple. And the next student will have to follow up with another word that starts with the letter A. So apple, ant. The next student could pick awesome. And the next one, adventure. The next student, always, etc., etc., etc. When a student fails to come up with a new word, or repeats a word that has already been used, they fail, and the activity stops. Now instead of punishing this student with a demerit or losing a point, or getting a strike, I make this student, the student who has made the mistake, into my rock, paper, scissors leader. All of the other students in the group will do a group rock, paper, scissors against that leader student, the student who was incorrect. And they'll rock, paper, scissors against that leader until there is only one student remaining. That student will win the round. They'll get the point for that round, and they will start the next round as the new leader. Another alternative to doing an entire group rock, paper, scissors would be that the two people on the opposite sides of the player who is out, or the player who is wrong, do rock, paper, scissors. That player gets the point, and that player starts the new round. This rock, paper, scissors aspect adds a little bit of randomness, a little bit of luck, and helps take away some of the negative stigma of being the student who lost the round, who failed to provide a new vocabulary word. In round 2, you move from the letter A to the letter B, and you begin with the student who won the group rock, paper, scissors. So the student would pick boy, the next student would pick ball, and basket, and brother, and Brian, and so on and so on and so on, until one player loses, or is incorrect, or they repeat a word that has already been said. My first teaching tip is that some students in some groups will be really excellent at this activity, and it will take them a long time to run out of vocabulary. So if you're playing with a more advanced class, or you want to make sure that you can manage the amount of time for each round, what I would suggest is that you put a timer up on the board or use an egg timer and make rounds 30 seconds. This way, even if students lose or the round they fail, they can just restart and play it again. So each round can yield 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points depending on how fast the groups play. The strongest academic aspect of this activity is that students are able to share their vocabulary with each other. So a student who has a really great English vocabulary will not pick simple words. They will not use apple or ant. They're going to use things like adventurous and allegiance and alliance. they're going to want to show off their vocabulary. And in doing so, they're able to teach students who have a more limited vocabulary range new English words. And you'll just continue down the alphabet round by round. These could be 30-second rounds, they could be 3-minute rounds. It's all based upon your student's ability level and how much time you want to devote to this activity. Now, this is something that you could spend an entire class doing and go through the entire alphabet. Or this is something that you could do as a warm-up or closing at the beginning of each class or at the end of each class. Now you already have one designated leader in each group, the person who starts the initial round and kind of keeps everybody in control. What I would also recommend is that you pick out the most troublesome student, the person who's going to make the most problems in that group, and you assign them the role of secretary. They are the dictator. They are the person who chooses the letter, and they are the person who records the points. Now, they do this on an alphabet chart worksheet. You can print out a simple phonics worksheet that has the alphabets in a chart form, and at the end of each round, the secretary will write down the name of the winner underneath each letter, and then pick a new letter to start the next round. This kills two birds with one stone because you're able to keep track of points, and you're also able to have your most difficult student buy in because he has a responsibility in the activity. So irregardless of his ability, he'll be doing something during this game. One really good alternative to alphabet rounds is to change alphabet letters for categories, like you would in a game of Scattergories. You could use things like nouns, verbs, adjectives. Then you can move on to colors and foods, articles of clothing. There are a endless number of categories that you could use, and what this does is it allows you to build from class 1 with an alphabet to class 2 to week 3 to month 4 to year 5. This is an activity that I think will never run out of steam. As long as you can keep thinking of new categories, you can continue to recycle this activity. The reason that I advise you to start with the alphabet, even with a high-level group of students, even in a teacher's class, is that you want to start slow and build the vocabulary, build the confidence, build the understanding of how the activity works before you throw in content that is out of their zone of proximal development. So no matter what level you're going with, start simply and then build to complex. The very first round of this activity, I like letting students pick their partners because the very first round is easy. It's the letter A, it's an alphabet category, and I want them to get a little bit of enjoyment out of it. But after that first round, if I'm going to use this activity again the next class, I'm going to rotate, let those students switch partners, because if you continue to use the same students in the same groups, the vocabulary just continues to get recycled, and nobody's growing their vocabulary, which is the most important aspect and the highest learning goal that we have for this activity. So that's the nameless activity we have right now. Again, if you can think of a good name for this activity, feel free to message me, email me, or join on the Facebook group and leave a posting. I really hope this game works as well in your classroom as it does in my mind. Good luck and cheers!